Let's talk about John Noble. So in this video, I wanted to give my opinion on something that I don't think I've been too vocal on since the 2023 Grand Final, and especially with everything that's happened with John Noble recently, getting traded to Gold Coast, saying that, the Grand Final, missing out on all those finals hurt him, and his dad coming out and saying that he was barracking for Brisbane as well. I wanted to give my opinion and my thoughts on it, and I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. Before we do go on, I can still see that there's an insane number of you guys that are watching and not subscribed. So if you can, it'd help the channel. We're nearly at 9,500 subs, which is amazing. We want to get to 10,000 before the end of the year, which would be just absolutely phenomenal. If you can, hit that subscribe button. It's for free. It would mean the world to me. And I'll just give you an outpouring of so much love when I see you guys next. So, John Noble got dropped on the eve of finals, so obviously missed out on those three finals, misses out on a grand final, and it hurts, right? For every grand final that there's a good story regarding it, there's always crap stories. And, you think about, John Noble playing 86 games straight or something on the fly and then getting dropped for finals. You think about Dan McStay as well, doing his knee in that prelim against the Giants and not being able to play. There's just everything, right? And you even look at Brisbane with Oscar McInerney, going down with that double shoulder injury and then not being able to play the grand final the next week, and Darcy Fort becoming a premiership player. So this always sort of happens. But with John Noble, it was a little bit different. He had, like I said, he had played 86 games straight or whatever it was, and then gets dropped on the eve of finals. And I don't think anyone really saw this coming because he was entrusted under fly for so long. But with the emergence of Oleg Markov, he obviously went past him, and we used Oleg more in that back line than we did John Noble in those finals, obviously. Now, if you've been living under a rock, the narrative around this is that John Noble deserves a premiership medal, and Jack Ginnivan, someone who left us for Hawthorn in that trade period, doesn't deserve it. He only had 7 or 8 disposals, didn't kick a goal, and didn't sort of deserve that premiership medal, and it should have been John's and stuff. And that sentiment, I understand it. I understand where people are coming from. Football, and especially when you're a Collingwood supporter, is such an emotive sport, and we're so passionate. And I can understand the frustration around Jack Ginnivan leaving us after a premiership, and then doing what he did to us, and then with John Noble, compounding that with John Noble requesting a trade out, you can see why people are like, John Noble deserves a premiership medal and Jack Ginnivan doesn't. But my thought is that, now this is, I don't know if it's controversial or not. I honestly haven't seen a lot of people sort of say this with my view, but I think that John Noble, yes, he was super hard done by, and it sucks that he didn't play like that. That he didn't play those finals after we've entrusted him, like I said, for so long, 86 or so games straight, and then to miss out on finals like that, and then miss out on a grand final berth. But it was all done for a reason, and I don't subscribe to the narrative that John Noble should be a premiership player, because he just wasn't going to fit into our squad. Well, obviously for finals, but for that premiership, I just don't think he would have fit in there. Now, let me explain. Now, like I said, in that preliminary final, we only make that one change, and that one change is that Dan McStay comes out, Billy Frampton comes in. So, like for like, let's say, we play Billy Frampton as a defensive forward. The other change that's made is that Jack Ginnivan goes from the tactical sub onto the field, onto the starting 22, and Patrick Lipinski comes into that sub role. And we see Patrick Lipinski do a really good job when he comes on for Nathan Murphy after Nathan Murphy subbed out with that concussion. Now, where does John Noble fit into that squad? Where does he fit into that squad? Who are you taking out? So the narrative that some Collingwood supporters are giving is that Jack Ginnivan didn't deserve to be in that squad. Take Jack Ginnivan out, put John Noble in. Who's your other small forward? Are you then taking off Lipinski out of that out of that tactical sub position, putting Lipinski onto the field, and then who are you having as your sub? Are you going to have someone like an Oleg Markov that can pretty much only play in that sort of defensive role because he doesn't really pinch hit forward? Would you put John Noble as the sub? I think Lipinski was such a great sub because he's a bit of a Swiss Army knife. He can play that defensive forward role. He can play on the wing and play in the middle if we need him to. Not really off the half back, but he can play multiple positions. So I think, speaking of the grand final itself, I can see why Jack Ginnivan was entrusted to be on the field. Could you just imagine if that Jack Ginnivan goal, I think it was that kick in the third quarter where he dribbled it along the ground, went in, the stands would have been just absolutely heaving. It would have been a bit of an earthquake. That's how much the stands would have been jumping at the G. So I don't subscribe to the story that John Noble deserves that premiership medal ahead of Jack Ginnivan, because Jack Ginnivan, that season, yes, he was a little bit in, a little bit out because of what happened the year before and in the nightclub and all that sort of stuff. But Ginnivan was a bit of a talisman, and he was that energy that we need. Whenever he came on as the tactical sub, he was that energy that we definitely needed to sort of amp us up. And they start him on the field so he can get his hands around the ball. He can get a cheap free kick, and he can kick a goal and get the Collingwood fans roaring. I just don't think John Noble would have fit into that best 23 at all, especially because Markov was in that team. It was either him or it was either Markov. And I know that for most of the year, I think maybe for all of the year, we were playing Markov and John Noble at the same time. But I think Markov was just a little bit cleaner with ball in hand, can take a bit of a better mark, can gain more meters throughout. And all you have to do is look at the Essendon game, which was the round 24 game before we played finals, and the game that John Noble got dropped after. John Noble meters gained about 200. Markov was about 400. Markov had more tackles, more marks. John Noble had more disposals, yes. They were both on about the same fantasy points, if you want to use that as a metric. But all over, I think Markov had the better game. And John Noble is known, and I love John Noble, right? I love Noble. I love the way he goes about it. I love his pressure acts. I love his one percenters. He literally fought for the black and white stripes. Every game, he has one or two Nobleisms. You know what they are. I've said about this on the channel for so many times. He has one or two Nobleisms that lead to goals. And in a grand final, you need your best troops on the field who, at the best of times, they're not going to do that. They're not going to kick across goal and shank the kick or drop a mark or something like that. I know it happens in football. That's fair enough. But I think Noble was, from the eye test, was a little bit more susceptible to that than most other players, especially more than an Oleg Markov. And then for, his dad to come out, and again, it's very emotive, and I fully understand it, for his dad to come out and say, I was barracking for Brisbane, which is, fair enough. And John Noble after the game was really sad, and my heart breaks for him. And yes, I would have loved for him to be a premiership player, but I just don't think he fit into that premiership side as well as people are thinking, because you take Jack Ginnivan out of the team, we don't have another small forward that goes into the team. If anything, if you're going to say anything that who should be in and who should be out, if you don't want Jack Ginnivan in the team, Harvey Harrison should have been playing that grand final. I love everything about Harvey Harrison. I'm devastated that he did his ACL. If you want a spark up forward, and we saw it a lot this season, Harvey Harrison was your guy. I heard from a reporter, and you can, take this with a grain of salt or don't believe me, I don't really care, but I heard from a reporter that in the selection committee, John Noble wasn't in the frame. It was Jack Ginnivan or it was Harvey Harrison. And Harvey was really close to a grand final berth ahead of Ginnivan. And who knows what could have happened had Harvey Harrison played. But John Noble wasn't even in the conversation. It was Harrison or it was Jack Ginnivan. Obviously, they went with Ginnivan, and we know why they went with Ginnivan. Does it look good that he left the club now? No, of course it doesn't, but he's a premiership player. He can do whatever he wants. He's playing for Hawthorn now, and John Noble goes to the Gold Coast Suns. So that's just my little rant about it, because I don't really think I've talked too much about it. And I know it's been a year since the grand final, but I think it's a bit telling now because of that interview where John Noble said, I'm going because it really hurt and I felt anxiety and my place at the selection table. And that's all fair enough. That's all, you know, it is what it is, unfortunately, and that's how he feels, and I'm sad to see him go, but he is going to thrive at the Gold Coast Suns, and I hope he ends up playing finals there at the Suns, so the Suns play their first finals, and I hope he wins a premiership there, because yeah, I would love for him to have a premiership medal, but I just don't think it would have worked out on grand final day. But anyway, guys, this has just been this. I was supposed to make this a 5-minute video. I reckon it's a lot longer than that. Let me know your thoughts down below. Do you agree with me? Do you not agree with me? Tell me why. But until then, like, comment, subscribe, tell your family, tell your friends, tell your pets. And until next time, double shackers, I'll swoop you later.